of the Ohio High Point Showing Vocational School District to order. Roll call, please.
Oswald,
Yes, here.
Brookhart. Here. Buck. Here. Burrows. Here. Campbell.
Here.
Donna.
Here.
Ludlow. McConnell.
Here.
McMahill.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Mauser.
Here.
Purcell.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
Savage.
Here.
Stanford. Here. Wallace and Wright. Am I correct? There are no board members attending virtually, right, Rick?
I have no board members so far attending virtually.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We move to item number 3, comments, communications, and public participation.
We have Nate here from WPKO. Welcome, Nate. We have administrators here, both online and in person tonight. Appreciate you guys being here. Going right into update. Okay, Madam President.
Yes.
So met today with the Strategic Planning Committee. 9 of the 11 were able to join us today. And basically what came out of the Strategic Planning Committee, as I talked to you about, should we start this up or not? The committee decided that they would like to at least pause the first semester and wait and see where things go. Their reasoning being, one part of the Strategic Planning Committee really involves making sure we get stakeholders and stuff involved in the process. Not sure if COVID stakeholders would come or visitors in the building or the different types of things involved around that. Others, we would have to probably have some full day work sessions and things, and it's very hard in many of your districts to get subs right now. And so trying to get them away for subs type of events and things of that nature were a couple of the reasons that they felt like with their teaching loads and trying to do things with some kids being remote and some kids being in person and things that they're working through right now this early in the season, they didn't think they could give their full attention to doing the strategic plan at this time. And so we decided to wait till January, see what comes out of the rest of this and maybe how many people come back online second semester, come back to school. Or, I was in a meeting today where I heard rumors of the vaccine and what's supposed to be out and how many doses are supposed to be here by April and things of that nature. So, there could be a change of whether we can look at next spring trying to do what we were doing last time, which is finish our process of picking a facilitator, getting some of the setup and stuff to go and be able to really run it again next fall. So that was the meeting with them on the COVID-19. Also back there, Jeff has a few bags. If you were not at the last board meeting and missed your goodie bag, I don't know exactly who you were, but if you didn't get one, please grab one. And if they run out, then you'll have to tell Kelsey who made them up that you missed yours. So we will try to get those to whoever was not here, maybe at the last board meeting. The last thing I'd like to report on, once again, the COVID cases. As I told the Facilities and Grounds Committee, Mr. Walker and the Facilities and Ground crew have done a phenomenal job of working and making sure that we're clean and sanitized as well as can possibly be. We don't expect to have no cases all year long, but the last couple of weeks we've come out with both zeros. And I know that Mrs. Ramey has called and said, hey, we sent a kid home today with 4 symptoms, and Mr. Walker's got the UV light in the room by the afternoon, and we're UVing places that every place that kid has been, and to knock on something, that's worked out for us to not have any type of real spread here so far. So the kids have done a great job in being compliant and wearing their mask and cleaning their tools and cleaning down after lunch and things of that nature. And so the procedures for the start of school year seem to have gone well the very first month. And believe it or not, we're almost through the very first month. School started August 24th. And tomorrow will be September 24th. So I'm just pleased and thankful to the staff at Ohio High Point for everyone's hard work, from the aides to the teachers to our nurse to our facilities and grounds to the administrative team who have worked so well together to have us have such a smooth start right now. And the kids that I have talked to in lab or in the lunchroom say they're happy, they're glad to be back, they're excited to be back in their labs working. You know, they don't want to end up in remote school, those type of things. And so it's been a real positive, uplifting thing to go around and talk to kids. So, any questions on those updates? The last thing I'll say about the updates was you got your first draft of board points to share with your board last the beginning of the month. How was the first edition? Did it help with what you were talking to your boards about? Are there things that you, hot stories you want me and Kelsey to make sure we put in the next one? We meet next Monday for issue 2 of board points. Is there anything about board points that you would like to expand on or know about?
I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Because I was on the Sept meeting or on my meeting here with you guys, I was able to just say here are my updates so I could listen to what we were doing and do the report that way. I mean, it was nice. I enjoyed it. I felt prepared and felt like I was sharing the exact information you wanted me to share.
Good.
And actually a little bit more. So.
Well, we will continue, and hopefully they'll even get better as each edition comes out. That's our goal. That's all I have is updates, Madam President.
All right, thank you. We'll move to item 4, committee reports and presentations. Paul, do you have a report for us?
Most of the stuff they work on right now has been for K through 5. But there was the governor signed House Bill 606 into law, which is sponsored by Diane Brindell, ensures civil immunity to individuals, schools, healthcare providers, businesses, and other entitled from lawsuits arising from exposure, transmission, or contracting of COVID-19 or any other mutation of the virus, as long as they were not showing recklessness or intentional or willful misconduct. Introduced actually yesterday was House Bill 756 to provide the discretion to school districts regarding the educational requirements of substitute teachers for 2021 school years to declare an emergency. It was the first time reading. Like everything else, I think found like 10 things for K through 5, but nothing for high school or for us. Why not?
All right, thank you so much. Item 5, topics for discussion. 5A, call for modifications to the agenda. The only thing is when we get to item 9A, Eric has the correct language for that motion, and he'll read it prior to my taking a motion in a second to approve those items. Are there any other modifications? Okay, item 5B, set the regular commission meeting. We can do that. Can we do that after the meeting?
We can.
All right. 5C, facilities and grounds committee.
So I would like to wrap 5C, 5D, 5F together if I could and try to explain all that. As you know, tonight we'll be voting on our relationship related to the GMP and be moving in a different direction. These things were established in a previous meeting. And so in the next week, whether it's tomorrow or Monday, there'll be additional meetings with Freitag and the attorney to reset a calendar of events. And so I don't want to take these dates off, not knowing for sure if we'll still need them for any part of that process. But we do know that the typical work session that we usually do over the 5-year forecast, I think I put it in the board notes and told everybody that I talked to Ann and Matt and Eric, and I had decided that we wouldn't give you much different information from May. It's really hard to predict what COVID's going to do or how many trips or what we're going to do with the budget this year, related good or bad to that. We are down a little bit in some of the FTEs and things. And when you look at everybody from about 8% to 25% of students taking online classes in our satellites, that's had an impact on how many kids are being able to take electives and things at our partner schools. And so it has had an impact to our FTE number. But so we just don't feel like we have enough good and quality information really to determine to give you a 5-year forecast on the 21st. But I do think we might still need that meeting to discuss construction items, other things that are coming up in the future. And so I would like to keep that special board meeting on the 21st. That's up there, potential special board meeting 5D. We will not probably do the work session, and I'm unsure if we'll need the page turn. So all those kind of things considered, I would like for you, if you can do the 21st, or if that date doesn't work for the board, if you could let us know. But that's where we're at right now, is I think we need to hold that meeting there as still a potential special meeting for construction and other related issues that might likely even end up in executive session type discussion. Eric, anything you want to expand on the 5-year forecast part of that work session?
Only that there will be a 5-year forecast. Schools have not been excused from updating theirs. There's a great deal of value when you all in 5-year forecast. I'm basically going to recycle and resubmit. If you want to, of course, you only need to say so.
Okay.
Thank you. And then for item 5E, the capital conference, I think Dr. Smith did share with us, you all know that it's going to be online. And if you want to sign up and do that, we can. But we need to let.
This will probably be the last time I have it on the agenda. I've heard from no one, and so if I'm not signing you up by October, October will be awful late to be trying to sign you up for November, type of thing. I think everybody's had ample chances to do that. So just want to put out there one last time. Let me know if it's something you like for the district to pay for or sign you up for. If not, I'll be removing that from the agenda.
I don't know how they're going to handle the platform vote.
It's going to be on October 29th. Virtual.
Okay.
It's going to be at 6 o'clock.
You're representing.
Yes.
Ohio.
Yes.
Okay.
They try to give you the case first, and I'm already here. So.
All right. Super. Okay, moving on. A motion and a second for the approval of the minutes.
First.
Thank you. Comments or questions? If not, roll call, please.
Brookhart?
Yes.
Buck?
Yes.
Burrows?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Dunham?
Yes.
McConnell?
Yes.
McMahill?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Mauser?
Yes.
Purcell?
Yes.
Greens?
Yes.
Savage?
Yes.
Stanford?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
And Boswell.
Item number 7, I don't believe there's a need for an executive session. So we will move to item 8, action items for consideration as recommended by the treasurer. A motion and a second to bring items 8A through 8F to the floor for discussion and vote.
May help.
Thank you.
Personal matters.
Is that more?
Got it. Thank you. So I would like to take a little different direction with the financial reports I'll be giving you this year. If you have them in front of you, or if you can pull them up.
I like the 12 cents we paid on my building fund, though.
Well, that was that month. It was 10,000 months prior. What I would like to do this year is everything I typically do every year, with the exception of estimating, anticipated expense level, by extension, and anticipated ending cash balance as well. And you may tell me that you wish otherwise, and that's fine. But I have the feeling that it is a privilege to have this feeling in Ohio High Point, that perhaps this school year, maybe the emphasis on those expense estimates and that cash balance estimate should probably take a backseat to the ability for the school to deliver whatever it needs educationally. What it looks like today isn't necessarily what it will look like 2 weeks from now or a month from now. And I just have a very difficult time estimating what kind of expenses go along with that type of scenario. And I think it also puts potentially, I think, undue pressure on the administrators. Be worrying about this number that Eric always has hanging out there. And now all of a sudden, my plans for how I'm going to educate or change. How's that going to impact these numbers there? I say it's a privilege because I think that's one of the things that we can offer this year, just because we are in such good financial shape that it's not a blank check, but certainly I think it's a green light for the people who make those decisions around here to do what they need to, what they think is best in a very changing environment to provide education for the students here. So what I would like to do is I have basically 3 main reports that will repeat throughout the year. The first report shows basically our revenue and budget as if we received every dollar, as if we spent every dollar. And it is broken down on a monthly basis that follow the typical receipt and spending pattern. Now, what I can tell you is that we will not spend every budgeted dollar. That I can tell you. What I'm not going to guess at is what that number might be. Okay? So that comes into the second report that you'll get on a continuing basis from me. You'll get an update each month with the actual expenses for whatever that month is. If you wish to go back in and make comparisons and look at them, so be it. I'm not going to do that in a number format. I'm going to do that on the third report. And that's basically those 3 picture graphs, which will show you the blue line, for example, on the expense curve is if we spent every dollar in the typical fashion that we spend money, that blue line is what our expenses would look like for the year. The red line that is going to accompany it and be built upon each month is what our expenses to date actually look like. So you can watch the year unfold with me, a year that I am very, very certain that the revenue line will end up looking probably almost exactly as it's budgeted. And I would expect that the expense curve, the red line, is going to finish below the blue line. And I expect that the red line on the cash balance will finish above the blue line. I'm not going to guess as to what now. So if you're agreeable to that, it's a little simpler than we typically do, but I feel that it's the appropriate reporting style. Okay, so that will be the basis of my reports, plus whatever special things for whatever special period. So you'll always have the info on the building fund, on the cafeteria fund. You'll always have the investment ledger, and then those special quarterly things that come up, I'll add those in as I always do. But those first three reports you will get every month in an updated form. Okay. So moving through my part of the agenda here, I will take you to item 8C. I am asking for 3 advances to be approved tonight. The advances, again, are temporary loans. The advances will be going to 3 funds that are either specifically named coronavirus relief, or we're going to use them in that fashion. So they are either specific to the coronavirus, or we're going to use the money in that fashion. The thing is, these grants don't come front-loaded with the money. The general fund is going to loan them the money. At the end of the grant period, when we have all the money, they'll turn around and repay our general fund.
Eric, can I just state some of the things that we're doing with that money? I believe, I think, the broadband grant we are using for hotspots and stuff. As soon as they get delivered, We're also installing some Wi-Fi spots in our parking lot where kids could get on free Wi-Fi here to do work and stuff like that at night type things. Part of it has gone to, I believe, the expenditure of our thermal scanner, and not for the thermal scanner. Okay. And then some of it has gone, I believe, to curriculum and stuff that we've purchased for being online and changing some of our formats for those kids who want it online, or when we're doing distant learning remote days with our academics, buying them certain programs or softwares to work with kids and things of that nature. So that's just some of the general academic things around Corona that we've put the money toward. Yes, Ms. Purcell.
Are the hotspots there for the students?
Mm-hmm.
And have we checked to make sure that the partner districts have not provided hotspots for those students?
Partners districts, that there's none that I'm aware of that's provide a hotspot to an OHP student here that I'm aware of.
The
So-
hotspots are for the students to use at home?
Correct. Hotspots are for the students to use at home in the different type of counties that come here. We haven't provided necessarily any for the satellite type things because typically they're only there for our one class. They've got those hotspots from their home district if they're doing distant or remote learning or things like that in general. So these are the hotspots that John ordered for this campus right now for the kids who come from all different counties for all the remote hybrid learning we're doing. Because there's a lot of schools that are still 5 days a week, you know, around a lot of our county schools too. They're still doing 5 days. So those were specifically purchased for that. Not saying that if we had 15 we weren't using and somebody from Kenton called and said, do you have a hotspot for one of our OHP kids taking class, we would take it up there. But right now they've been mainly purchased for the grant for the students here on High Point campus.
Okay. Does Kenton purchase hotspots for all of the Kenton students?
Like I said, if they gave them to Kenton students coming down here, I'm not aware of that.
That's all I'm saying, is
Yeah, I
we
don't
don't need to duplicate that.
Right. We wouldn't give them another one if they're already taken care of. Yeah, we would give it to another kid someplace else. But those hotspots come with a monthly service charge. And so John was able to work and get a deal through the Texas group for $16.50 a month versus paying $40 a month in Ohio. So we were able to put that as part of the grant and work part of the pay of that only through December. So the grant had to be spent by December and only allowed to go to December. And so that's how we worked some of that. Thank you, Eric. I just wanted to add a little bit on those grant things.
Thank you.
So the second half of 8C is a transfer of $25,000 from the general fund to the copier replacement fund. You need to know the difference there is that $25,000 will never come back to the general fund, a permanent movement of money. We choose to do this because whether we lease or buy, and we currently buy our copiers, I would, if I'm going to have $125,000 worth of expenses over 5 years, I personally would rather have nice even $25,000 each year rather than a $80,000 spike 1 year, $40,000 spike. So it evens out the expenses, and it also puts that money away so that when the time comes for John to replace copiers, it's there and we don't have to scramble to find them. That is something we have done for a number of years now, and that's always built into our budget. Item 8D, this is an annual resolution where we receive from the county auditor. And keep in mind, we work with 9 county auditors. I report to the Logan County auditor. But we receive from our county auditor what they have on the books for us as far as levies that we've passed. So we have 2 levies that we've passed, and the county auditor recognizes both of those. The continuing 2 mil levy for operating purposes that was passed in 1977. And then our 0.6 mil continuing PI levy that was passed in May 2018. The county auditor goes on to give an estimate of the revenues for that, So it is just an estimate. It's neither a ceiling nor is it a floor for what we'll actually collect. I will tell you that he and I work separately on this, and that we are probably within $10,000 of each other on that $9,350,000 bond. So we're either both very wrong or both right.
I like the one.
Item 8E would be our annual appropriation measure. You have in the reports from me this month, hopefully you've had a chance to look at them, the detail for the appropriation measure. In total, it is $51,442,640.64. The vast majority of that related to our building fund project, $31.5 million of that. It's right up to our project. And we would ask, as we always do, that the level of control that you pass that at would be at the fund level, and what we call in my world the function level, you can think of it as the department. Okay? So you are appropriating money within the general fund. We cannot move those general fund appropriations outside of the general fund to anybody else. The money that's budgeted within my department, for an example, I have the freedom to move between my supplies and my purchase services. However, I do not have the freedom to move money from my account or from Caleb Lang's account, which would be academics, different departments, without your approval. Okay, so that's the fund function level of approval. It's the level you would approve at. Again, if you went to the very last page of my report, I gave a quick summary of what this budget looks like compared to prior year's budgets, prior year expenditures. I think you can see that the budget is actually a little bit smaller than it was last year. And again, not attaching numbers, but we underspent last year's budget by 10 to 11%. I'm not saying that's the number for this year, but I will tell you, we will not spend every dime of the general fund budget that we have this year. I gave you that last report as really just some historical data to back that. Item 8F, just a short list of items that we want to dispose of. The list actually would be listed on our public surplus online auction site, but there's also just, and I consider this list that you're looking at fairly miscellaneous. There's an even more miscellaneous list of items from the early childhood education program that we're going to donate to the Logan County Head Start program. And they are so miscellaneous that I didn't even okay. But that would be the extent of my items and my report tonight.
And then anybody can go on to the public surplus online and get it. There's something there to you.
Anyone can. It's fair game.
Any other comments or questions?
Real quick there, to expand on, you looked at the real estate tax comparisons this year versus the year.
Right.
Anything concerning there? Pretty normal for this time of year.
Yeah, I think we're on what I would consider, I think we're on pace to get what we have estimated this school year. Now, you know, it's somewhere between a 45 and a 55 split. That might be a 57-43 or the other way around, but we don't get the money in nice clean halves, one versus the other. But what I've seen for the collections, this half of our school year makes me feel pretty good that we're going to be able to be very close to our annual total.
Anything further? Roll call, please.
Buck?
Yes.
Burrows?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Dunham?
Yes.
McConnell?
Yes.
McMahill?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Mauser?
Yes.
Purcell?
Yes.
Greens?
Yes.
Savage? Roswell.
Yes.
And Broker.
Yes.
Motion carries. Before we move to, a motion and a second on the 9 items, I'll have Eric read the 9E resolution for you for the change in the status of the certified employee.
Sure, so if you were looking at 9E right now, you see a very layman's attempt at legalese. What I have is the formal resolution that our attorney has given us, and that's what our minutes will reflect, what I have in my hands. And it reads, titled, Approval of Request from Certificated Teacher Rob Dickerson for Transition to Part-Time Contract. Item 1, to approve the request of certificated staff member Rob Dickerson, in parentheses, Satellite Graham, to move to part-time employment on a 5/8 basis starting with the current school year. Item 2, to approve the resignation/rehire agreement for part-time teaching contract as presented to and signed by Rob Dickerson. Item 3, to authorize the board president and treasurer to execute on behalf of this board the above agreement and the 1-year limited teaching contract for Rob Dickerson, part-time 5/8 for the 2021 school year, and the form prepared by legal counsel.
Okay, then I will ask for a motion and a second to approve, to bring items 9A through 9F to the floor for discussion and then vote.
But,
Thank you.
So 9B is our standard salary movement this time of year from everyone turning in their hours and semester hours. I think I put in my notes how well that has taken off this last year. 9D, we had somebody take advantage of the 100% grant we were able to get through Midwest Regional ESC for working toward College Credit Plus, being able to do that for us. And so that is what Monica Young has taken advantage of. We still have in that grant, I think, pretty close to around $15,000. I have talked to Mr. Lang about seeing if there's any other teachers that might be interested in trying to get this free money toward College Credit Plus options here on campus. Then 9E, as you heard the changes, to give you the full story here, Mr. Dickerson came to us and asked if he could move down to possibly a 5/8 contract. Mr. Richardson and Mrs. Workman reviewed what his class schedule was, some of the things going on at Graham, some of the ways that he had some smaller periods that could be combined and work with Graham, and Graham was able to make that happen in their schedule. And so because of that, the 2-year agreement contract that he signed in May, he has to resign from that 2-year contract, and it takes him out of the policy procedures of, 2, 3, possible continuing contract after a certain amount of time, because these 5/8 years aren't going to count in that series of years. Okay. So each year he'll come up for his 1-year contract, and we'll have to determine if his classes keep getting smaller, is he even staying at all? Or if they grow and Graham needs him for 7/8 next year, it could change to a different contract. So, but that was all worked out with Mrs. Workman and Mr. Richardson on how to help this teacher out in that process. And so then he talked to Eric about how that would impact his insurance and his, his prorated costs and all those different types of things. And so that's what he agreed and signed today, that he would resign as long as you guys rehired him at a 5/8 contract. So that's the purpose of 9E. The textbooks, I have Allison on the line if you have any questions about the textbooks. But that is new textbooks for Mark Kurtner's class, directly related around his aviation type program, and looking at how he can help them toward pilot ideas in his program and things of that nature. And so though they typically come to us at other times in a year, he started this class and saw this new resource and wanted to make it part of his primary curriculum and brought that to the table tonight. They are here on the back shelf back there by your name badges as you walked in, if you did not get to look at them or want to look at them before or after the vote. Is there any questions for Allison about those textbooks? I believe that's my full report.
Thank you so much. If there's nothing further then, roll call please.
Burrows,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Dunham,
Yes.
Ludlow, McConnell,
Yes.
McMahan,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Mauser,
Yes.
Purcell,
Yes.
Reeves,
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Stanford.
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 10 is the board resolution and action items. And we will move to item 10A, which is the termination of the agreement with Market Construction for the additions renovations project.
Or move.
McMahan.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments that anyone might have?
Can they, I got a question. Can they bid on the, any part of the project?
Yes. All general contractors will be allowed to bid like everybody else in an open bidding process.
Anything further? Roll call please.
Burrows,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Dunham,
Yes.
McConnell,
Yes.
McMahan,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Mauser,
Yes.
Purcell,
Yes.
Reeves,
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Stanford,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Boswell,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
and Buck.
Yes.
Motion carries. There's not a need for executive session. Anything else for the good of the organization before we adjourn? If not, a motion and a second to adjourn. Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
7:37, I'm stopping the recording. Good night, everybody who's online.
And then have a safe-
Night. Thanks, Dr. Smith.